Greetings everyone, it's your boy, the Antman here, back at you with another review.
Where are you?
Ah yes, Scooby-Doo. By far one of the most influential and timeless cartoons to have ever come out of any generation. The formula of a group of 4 teenagers, along with a talking dog, going around solving mysteries, unmasking a bunch of phonies, is one that was fresh at the time of its creation. So fresh, in fact, that it has lasted for many years, even up to this day, from the various spin-offs, the direct-to-video films, the video games, etc. Scooby and the gang have been on many spooky adventures. In 2002, director Roger Gosnell felt the need to bring these guys to the big screen in the flesh and in live action. Now you might be wondering, was it a Scooby-Dooby-Doo? Or Scooby-Dooby-Don't?
Oh, come on. It sounded a lot better in my head. Oh, for the love of... Just start the damn review.
Oh, you stink!
Scooby-Doo came out in 2002 and stars Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, Linda Cardellini, and Matthew Lillard. The movie starts off at a creepy toy factory where our heroes of Mystery Incorporated foiled the Luna Ghost. Once they wrap things up, the gang seems to get fed up with each other, particularly Fred, Daphne, and Velma. They soon come to the decision to quit solving mysteries and go along their separate ways. Shaggy and Scooby try their best to defuse the situation, but it wasn't quite working out. A couple of years passed, and the gang all get an invitation from a certain someone named Mr. Mondavarius. They reunite at the airport, and are a little hesitant at first, now that they've seen each other's faces again, but they do give in only to solve the mysteries for each of themselves. Once they get to their location, which is called Spooky Island, wow, what a subtle name, they meet the infamous Mr. Mondavarius himself, played by Rowan Atkinson. From what he tells the gang, there is an evil spell of some kind warping the minds of visitors who come to the island, meaning that they are not the same person as they were when they first got there. Long story short, the gang gets the information and they try to outsmart each other by seeing who gets to solve this mystery first. Velma learns of this creepy cult that seems to worship a certain kind of monster with an evil ritual, and Daphne comes across this creepy voodoo doctor who she thought was trying to trick her into going to the castle when he really wasn't. I'll just play the scene for your amusement, and I gotta warn you, this might deep fry your brain. Just listen to this.
And you knew I'd do the opposite of what you said. So you told me not to go to the castle, so I would go up to that castle where you set a trap to capture me. Unless you knew I'd figure it out. So you told me not to go up to the castle, so I would think that you wanted me to go, so I wouldn't go, just like you didn't want me to.
Huh?
I'll find out what you're hiding in that castle. You watch.
What in the world? My thoughts exactly, Mr. Voodoo Guy. My thoughts exactly.
As the gang are all searching the castle later on, Fred and Velma discover the process of how the baddies are mind-bleaching the visitors. Apparently, it's through a training video on a VHS tape, and it gives them the instinct to use college frat lingo to speak to each other. There's also the fact that their souls are taken out and replaced with monsters that use their bodies for protection from the sunlight. All of this is a part of a bigger scheme for the big baddie to take over the world. So of course, Scooby and the gang must take a step up and be the heroes that the world needs right now. This was one of the very first live-action adaptations I've seen of any cartoon, and yes, I'd be lying if I said I don't enjoy this movie, because I do. To an extent. Do I think this movie does Scooby-Doo justice? Well, I know there was a lot of passion put into this project when it comes to the behind-the-scenes stuff, but trust me, this definitely is not a perfect movie. Starting off with the stuff that did work. The casting was really on point. The entire gang were really brought to life by these actors, in looks and mannerisms. Freddie Prinze Jr. brings a bit of a conspiracy-minded and logical thinking feel to the character of Fred. I also think this particular portrayal brings more of a high school jock feel to him. That does give him a little more personality compared to some of his previous incarnations. Then again, that doesn't exactly make him the most likable to me either. He's just kind of a jerk sometimes. But he has his moments where I can't really be mad at him. Same with Sarah's portrayal of Daphne. She's too much of a spoiled pretty girl. I'm probably exaggerating just a little, but that's just the sense I got from this performance, in both this and the sequel. Then again, she has her strong points, and it's a decent enough job, but just the writing I felt could have been, I guess, less annoying for these two. Linda Cardellini makes for a great Velma. She's intelligent, a bit of a wisecracker, but also has charisma that makes her fun to watch and to listen to, especially when she's putting two and two together for when they're trying to figure out what these clues mean. Now I think I've saved the best for last, and for all of you watching right now, say it with me. Matthew Lillard is the perfect live-action Shaggy. Everything from his mannerisms to his looks to his voice, he completely owned this part. As they were filming, Matthew actually took a whole lot of pride within himself to get this right. The result was not only perfect, but exactly how I would have done Shaggy if I were to make a Scooby-Doo movie myself in this format. It's no wonder why they chose him to be the successor after the original Casey Kasem version. Warner Brothers has kept him as the current voice of Shaggy in many of the animated Scooby media that has been coming out since 2010. He's probably my overall second favorite portrayal because he's just that charismatic and lively as the character. Rowan Atkinson as Mr. Montevarious is a lot of fun too. He's likable enough and has a few moments that make me chuckle. I mean, hey, what do you expect from the guy who's known for playing this goofy scrub? Funny enough, in this movie, he actually has dialogue, and somehow still comes off as being mad goofy. The voodoo guy and Shaggy's love interest, Mary Jane, played by Isla Fisher, do okay in their roles, but they're not exactly given a whole lot to do. Not saying that these roles were wasted, but I just feel maybe they could have had a little more screen time than they were given in the film that we got. The look of all the set pieces look pretty damn good. Granted, some of them, like the amusement park rides, look like they have a lot going on in the background as the characters are going through them. Depending on how you look at it, that might be a good or bad thing. As for me, I'd say it's a good thing, mainly because these sets are just so well made that I honestly can't critique them that much. The tropical feel of Spooky Island makes you, as the viewer, want to take a vacation there yourself. It's very populated and also has a lot of character to it, both in daytime and nighttime. Heck, this movie almost wants you to experience the chaotic chase scenes with the monsters, although you might be at risk at, getting eaten. That would be both scary and also
Disgusting.
the character arc that the gang goes through about working together and putting their differences aside, I think was done decently enough. The real heart from it comes from Shaggy and Scooby, since the other three split up at the start of the film. They were the only ones who stayed together and consistent, with their dorky selves, eating up on food, and of course, getting toasted in the back of the Mystery Machine.
You know, Scoob, it just dawned on me. Scooby-Dooby.
Oh, for God's sake, I meant toasted, as in they cook food in the back of the van. Oy. Where some of the issues of this movie lie with me starts with the CGI. Now I understand that they have given their all when it came to attempting to bring Scooby and these monsters to life, but they do not look all that good in retrospect. Or hell, even when it came out, it didn't look good then. What keeps it from going down in a spiral, I think, are the interactions between Shaggy and Scooby. Matthew Lillard is very committed to this role, that the interactions between him and this CGI dog are convincing enough to where you do accept it after a while. Mind you, this doesn't make the CGI less bad. I'm just saying in these scenes with these interactions, it's not that distracting compared to some of the others. Another thing to bring attention to is some of the humor in the movie. This movie can be genuinely funny, but it also suffers from the syndrome of gags that were not funny to begin with, and yet they drag on for more time than they should. The biggest offender of this would have to be the fart and burp off between Shaggy and Scooby on the movie set. If it went on for maybe a couple of seconds, then sure. But to make it a whole scene is like, okay guys, we get it. Can we please move on to the next scene? Now, I think I've saved the best issue I have with the movie for the last. I know that is hell of a counterproductive thing to say, just hear me out. People, I think it's time for me to talk about Scooby-Doo. Yep, saw that one coming. Now shut up. Thank you. Anyways, so yeah, Scooby-Doo. He is of course Scooby-Doo's nephew. He was added to the show in the late 70s when the series wasn't really doing so hot when it came to the ratings at the time. So Hanna-Barbera thought that the best way to pull in viewers again was to add a new character to the cast. Of course, in came this little nugget. Scrappy's the one who also puts himself in danger, since he's always eager to fight the monsters or whatever the gang will be going against in an episode. In this movie, he's revealed to be the main antagonist, and he wanted to lure the gang and his uncle by disguising as a robotic Montevarius and ruling the world along with the monsters. Scrappy being the antagonist is most likely due to the fact that he's been hated on for years from the general audience and fans alike since his creation. And why I think this is an issue, I don't really want them to treat Scrappy like this. You know what I mean? Now, if you're somebody watching this right now and if you don't like Scrappy-Doo, fine. But I, for one, just think they did my boy dirty in this movie. They most definitely did him dirty, but at the same time, I'm kind of amazed by this, only because the hatred for this character has went so far that they actually made him the antagonist. The freaking antagonist. With that said, I do like the design of Scrappy's monster form, known as Scrappy Rex. It almost does make him a monster to be afraid of, at least from the way I see it. So yeah, as Scooby-Doo's very first jump on the big screen in live action form, does this movie still hold up? I would say it's a case of half and half. The half that did not age well includes some of the issues that I've talked about, like some of the unfunny humor that drags on for too long, not to mention some of the unlikability that Fred and Daphne kind of go through in the movie. The CGI as well did not look good then, and certainly doesn't look any better these days. As for the half that does have stuff that aged well, I mean, the portrayals of the characters, especially Matthew Lillard. The overarching story involving Shaggy and Scooby trying to get the gang to like each other again and be a team is actually pretty wholesome and well done. The climax when the gang fights back against Scrappy and the henchmen is admittedly pretty badass, especially from Daphne, who is now a black belt. And the moments that are well written and funny are genuinely well written and funny. If only they kept that consistent throughout the whole thing, then maybe this would have had a lot more laughs. At the end of the day though, this movie is a guilty pleasure. And it's one that I'll always go back and watch. Even if it's not that great, it's still enjoyable. And hey, anything for the Scoopster. I give Scooby-Doo a 5 out of 10. But hey, as most of you guys may know, once a live-action movie adaptation of a popular cartoon makes tons of bank, chances are they will get a sequel. I'm sure you guys already know what's coming next. But until then, here's your boy the Ant-Man signing off. Deuces and Scooby-Dooby-Doo, bitches.